We've been gathering here in Karanda since 1989. And in those years, many stories have been told. And it's been said that those stories are like links in a chain, but a chain that has no beginning and no end. It did not begin with stories that were like kindergarten stories and then progressed through so that we come to graduate stories. Not at all. But they are links, because each of the patches of stories have had a particular purpose. And in this instance, and today, with the story that's to be told, and versions have been told before, it's like a closing of a link. And you could say that that link began with the question that was asked, what is it that happens when the movement of life meets this stillness, this place where we find ourselves? It might be for some of us only in moments as yet, but we're aware, very aware of a presence, a nowness perhaps you might call it, that is there for us. So we're very able and capable of answering this question. What is it that happens when the movement of life, the experiences of life, meet this presence? You could call it centeredness, perhaps. We each of us have different words to describe it. But also this link is being completed with another question. What is a mystic? So let's see, in this Sufi story, which also has been said before, are those stories that encapsulate all the levels of existence and have the deepest essence and beyond that essence in them. This story is the story of a man called Malik Dinar. Now he was a seeker after truth and enlightenment, and he'd studied the books and he'd practiced the practices and he'd studied philosophy and comparative religion, all of those things. But he decided it was time to make a pilgrimage to find the hidden teacher. Now, he knew that the hidden teacher was purported to be within him, but still he was impelled to take this journey, make this pilgrimage. So he set out with just a few dates in his pocket. And somewhere along the road, it so happened that he met a man wearing a patchwork robe. Now, we know that these beings who wear the patchwork robes are said to be dervishes, themselves to be seekers, you might say. But there are dervishes, and it'll be left to you to recognize or to understand what this particular dervish represents. But in any event, Malik Dinar met the dervish, and they walked a little way in silence, and then the dervish turned to Malik Dinar and said, "Who are you and where are you going?" And Malik responded, "Oh, I'm seeking the hidden teacher. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm Malik Dinar." Well, the dervish responded, "Well, I'm Al-Fatir, and maybe we can share the journey along the way." Oh, and Malik Dinar said, "Can you help me to find the hidden teacher?" And the dervish responded in the enigmatic way of dervishes, "Well, who's to say? Can I help you find the teacher? Can you help me find the teacher?" And so said Al-Fatir, you know, it's said that the hidden teacher is within, but it's also said that he is to be found through the experiences of life. So they walked along a way, and suddenly they saw a tree. There was no great wind blowing, but the tree was moving in all directions, like the tree was shaking itself. And Al-Fatir turned to Malik Dina and said, I believe this tree is very disturbed. It has something troubling it from within. Should we investigate and see if we can be of assistance to the tree? Oh, said Malik Dina, we have no time to be concerned about trees. We're on our quest to find the hidden teacher. Let's just move on. So they walked along quite a ways. And Al-Fatir said, you know, I had the distinct aroma of honey around that tree. I wondered, could it be that the disturbance within the tree was a beehive? Oh, said Malik Dina, well, let's go back and see. That would make us rich. We would be able to eat the honey, and we can sell it, and we'd have money for our journey. Well, when we got back there were 3 travellers dancing around the tree. They discovered the honey. We're rich, they were saying, we're rich. Too late. Well, Malik Dina was a little bit chagrined about this, but they went along their way. And they travelled quite a way. But then the dervish said, I hear a rumbling under the earth. So he put his ear to the ground and he said, I do believe it's a colony of ants, and they seem to be having some disturbance, and as though they've met some kind of barrier. Should we stop and find out what it is that no, we don't have time for that, said Malik Dina. Let's just move along. But of course they'd sat there to have their little repast, I think a little piece of fruit or whatever it was, and then they moved on. But somewhere further along the road, Malik Dina recognized that he'd forgotten his knife. And he said, oh, maybe I left it back where we'd taken a rest and cut the fruit. We better go back and see if I can find my knife. Well, when they got back there were a group of men who also were dancing with great happiness. They were all covered in mud, but they had bags of gold. And they said, oh, we were walking along the road when an old dervish came to us and said, maybe if you go and dig over there, you might find that stones are not what really stones are. It could be gold. And we dug and we found that there were a colony of ants that had come to a place where they were blocked from building their nest, and when we dug, we found this cache of gold. Then they looked at Al-Fatir and they said, in fact, it was a dervish, something like you. Oh, said Al-Fatir, you know, all dervishes look alike. But by this time, of course, Malik Dina was quite angry, looking askance at the dervish. Well, they went on further along the way and they came to a very wide river. But while they were waiting for the ferryman to cross, they noticed that there was a very large fish coming out of the water, just gulping and gulping for air. And the dervish said, oh, this fish is obviously in distress. There's a herb on the side of the river here. Perhaps if we help it to eat that herb, it can regurgitate whatever it is that's stopping it from swimming, as all the other fish are. But by this time, the ferry boat had landed and Malik Dina pushed the dervish into the boat. He didn't want to dilly-dally around there. And so the ferry boat took them to the other side of the river, where they found that some very thoughtful traveller had built a little tea house where they were able to rest for the night. So they rested very comfortably. And then, in the morning, the ferry boat man came over to the dervish, bowed in front of him. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you." He said, "When I came to get you, I had finished my ferrying for the day, but when I saw two simple poor travellers there, I thought I would do my good works and come and get you. And when I did, I found the fish on the side of the river, and it was obviously in distress. So I took it out of the water and allowed it to feed on a little herb, and it coughed up a great stone, this diamond. And now I'm rich for the rest of my life." Well, by this time Malik Dina was very angry about this, and he turned to Al-Fakir. He said, "You knew all the time, didn't you? You knew what was going on. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't tell me." And the old dervish just smiled to himself and said to Malik Dina, "Well, perhaps you have learned that it's in the experiences of life that we learn the wisdom and find who it is and what it is that is the hidden teacher for us." Al-Fakir said, "I am an instrument of that hidden teacher." And he walked off down the road with a group of travellers, and they began to discuss the ways of life, leaving Malik Dina standing pondering. But the strange, or maybe not so strange, end to this story is that Malik Dina became one of the great Sufi mystics. Some of us are taking a journey in a few days' time. And on that journey, we're going to experience what it is to be a mystic. But in our day-to-day life, we have to learn that we are the mystic, because we are in that place, in that location, where we have embraced the three levels of existence, variously called. In the stories that have been told, it's been called the nitty-gritty, the airy-fairy, and the transcendental. In Hindu terms, it's called Satchitananda, existence, knowledge, and bliss. In the saying that's been repeated many times, it's called the sensual, the aesthetic, and the transcendent, but nothing more than the ordinary level of life where karma resides, cause and effect, the level of intuition that everyone has in some degree or other. And that level where we recognize the interrelatedness of existence. That's bliss. But when we have embraced each of these levels in full measure, that means at every moment of every day, having them united, present in us, in our awareness, we are in that place that is able to embrace all three, but which remains unchanging, still, present, alert, attentive. In that place, we are mystics. What do we need to do to remain in that place? How do we embrace all three levels of life totally? You know. It has no need to be spoken to you, taught to you, shown to you. We are those mystics, but only when we embrace fully all three levels of existence. The level of karma, conflict, sensuality, the level of awareness, totally alert, no inner and outer, and that level of interrelatedness and oneness that we don't need to come back to, it's always there. I don't need to look at any one of you and say, there's God. No. Why? Because we're the mystics. Thank you.